Welcome to our exhibition, Soshana Unforgettable. The Austrian ambassador will now open the exhibition and let us all join him.
So, dear Mr. Schueller, dear Mrs. Richards, distinguished guests, a very warm welcome to all of you of the opening of the Soshana Unforgettable exhibition on the wonderful premises of Badia and the Arts Couture Gallery. As some of you may recollect, this is actually already the second exhibition with the intriguing works of the Austrian, and I may say citizen of the world, artist Soshana in Dubai. A cosmopolitan city that is more than apt to host an artist that who has lived in more than a dozen countries during her life and has been inspired by so many countries, historic events and cultures. After we had Soshana Forever here in 2013, this time the motto we chose for the present show of works is Soshana Unforgettable. A more than perfect motto, as unfortunately Soshana herself died in December 2015 after a long and fulfilled life of arts and creation at the age of 89 in her native Vienna. Therefore, I would very much like to thank Mrs. Cynthia Richards and her Art Couture Gallery for her renewed readiness and cooperation in organizing this new view on her works, as well as Mr. Amos Schueller, Soshana's son and curator and great inspirer of this exhibition. For those of you who have not yet been in touch with her works and person, please allow me to briefly introduce her. The Vienna Soshana was born in 1927 was not anymore the splendid capital of a multi-ethnic realm encompassing people 17 different languages, but the vastly oversized capital of a small, rather alpine country, trying to come to terms with an enormously reduced size, economic and social crisis, and a new identity. Yet, it was still a vivid city, harboring the likes of Sigmund Freud, the designer and architect Josef Hoffmann, or the writer Stefan Zweig, to name just a few one who you may recollect. During her childhood, the shadows of totalitarianism and dictatorship grew, ending in World War II in genocides and enormous upheavals. Her family was thus forced to flee from the Nazi regime, ending up in London and later on in America. A break in her childhood and personal life that left a profound imprint. In her awareness, the home country was replaced by a gap which she tried to fill. The feeling of belonging to a specific place on the map was substituted by a roaming spirit and an ability to inhabit the world as a whole, becoming a relentless wanderer. In a sense, her life already foreshadowed and represented the globalized being that now so many more lead, be it in a self-chosen or imposed way, that is one of the hallmarks of the beginning 21st century, an age of globalization with its bright and ugly sides alike. Having had her first exhibition in 1948, she moved back to Vienna to study arts there, continuing in Paris, at that time a sort of Mecca of the arts and center of the avant-garde. A melting pot of new influences and revolutionary ideas. She stayed on in Paris for 22 years, becoming acquainted to artists like Giacometti, Max Ernst, Jean-Paul Sartre, Marc Chagall, and Pablo Picasso, among many others. In her openness and curiosity, she traveled the world widely, impressed and inspired by Chinese and Indian art and philosophy. She even made it to Africa to visit the famous Dr. Albert Schweitzer in his hospital in Lambarene, spending years in Mexico and moving on to New York. But if you allow me to say so, humans are a bit like salmon. So she ended up moving back to her place of birth in Vienna in 1985, and she continued to create and work right to the end of her life. Like a wanderer through many places, she has also been a wanderer through many styles, being open to experiments and unconventional combinations. But I do not want to take too much of your time, and will leave it to you to discover the realm of her works, reflecting the abundance and splendor, but also the abyss of human life and civilization. And one of the things we can take from her work is never lose curiosity and openness to the wonders of nature and human imagination, and always try to connect. Finally, I would also like to thank Mr. Josef Kleindienst, an eminent Austrian property entrepreneur. Where is he, Josef? Yeah. For his generous support. Please come, step forward. Yeah. For his very generous support of this exhibition, sponsoring this reception, as he has done so wonderfully before. And Valerie Babak, certainly. So we wish Josef and Valerie all the best for their new endeavor in developing the heart of Europe at the World Islands, and welcome him and his guests with the opening of the Soshana Unforgettable exhibition. Thank you very much all.
Dear Cynthia Richards, Austrian Ambassador Peter Elsner-Mackay, Mr. Kleindienst and the Austrian Business Center and the Capacity World. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here in this wonderful country and in this wonderful gallery Art Couture, after 3 years to present you my mother's works again. Unfortunately, Soshana passed away on the 9th of December last year in Vienna. She had a very full life. The last years were not easy for her. She had a lot of pain, and the last 2 years she lost her eyesight. However, she was very brave about it and painted every day, even being blind. Soshana used to travel her whole life throughout the world, but she was not able to travel herself the last years, so her works traveled instead. Now, when she is not with us anymore, her paintings continue living in our hearts, in every soul they touch, in every vivid feeling and emotion they evoke. I would like to thank you all for coming to this exhibition, because as long as her art lives, her soul lives as well. Soshana has always seen her art as a medium of bringing people together, people of many different nations, to exchange their cultures and ideas, to inspire others, and to be inspired by others. This idea of intercultural exchange was not only an ideological dream, it was Soshana's lifestyle. Wherever she went, she was always curious to meet new people, always ready for unexpected discoveries, open-minded, without any prejudice. And art is a wonderful thing to connect people, since art knows no language but the one your soul speaks. I want to thank you especially, dear Cynthia, and the cultural section of the Austrian Foreign Ministry and Embassy, with those whose help this exhibition became possible, and also Mr. Kleindienst and the Austrian Business Center for their sponsorship. And of course, I thank you, every single person who came here tonight to see Soshana's work. It's good to be back here. Together with her art, Soshana remains unforgettable. I thank you very much, for your attention. Please enjoy your evening. I'll be around if you have questions. I'm here to answer. Thank you. This first work is from the early 40s, when she was still painting very realistically, and then it continues with this painting here, so the early painting on the left is from 1945, called Sunflowers. The next one is called Spring in the Desert. Soshana loved the desert and the sea, so there are quite a few desert paintings here, as well as sea paintings with sea life. Flowers, of course, she loved, so there are also some flowers. Her main paintings were painted starting in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, which were abstract in this style. It was called informel. And she was very influenced by the Japanese and Chinese calligraphy, which she studied in Japan, in Kyoto, in the monastery from the monks. And in China, she was in Hangzhou, in an artist village. And then she tried, when she was back in Paris, in her studio, to transfer what she learned in using watercolors to use oil paints on canvas. And this became her signature paintings. These paintings here, for example, she traveled all over the world, and what she collected was masks. In Africa, in Asia, in South America, and she was, of course, also traumatized from all the wars everywhere, and so she painted a lot of paintings with masks. Sometimes it was a self-portrait, like this on the right is a self-portrait. The center painting is Memories of Mexico, where she spent a couple of years, and the colors are very Mexican colors. Again, here is a painting in a desert painting with a single figure in it. Very often the single figure is herself. And this is also a desert painting. It's called Mask in the Desert. And again, some more masks. As I said before, she loved the desert and the heat and also the sea. So we have a lot of desert and sea paintings. And her favorite color was red. And she loved to paint red paintings. And of course, these are all abstract paintings, starting from the 50s until 2000. They're all very much in this style. This is called Bird of Paradise, for example. This is called the Pink Abstraction. And these paintings here on this wall are her latest paintings from 2012 and 2013. Very modern, yes, yes. And she changed her style completely. As you can see, it's a different style. And even when she became blind, she still continued painting in this manner. And about 10 years ago, she told somebody, even if I would be blind, I could still paint. And then she became blind, and she still painted. So this is her new works.